Good to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Turn it down in there. Well, folks, you've just got a good example at our inaugural flight. We're thankful that you're here. We appreciate your participating and helping us work the bugs out of this program. Can everybody hear now? Just if you can, just type in yes and your name, please. You getting some yeses?
Yeah.
Okay. I still see some more coming. Okay, we're on board. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We've had everyone. Renee, thank you very much. We had to bring a technician in here to help us. The ladies did most of it today, and interesting day for us. Thank you for joining us and helping us as we start out on this webinar concept, and gives us an opportunity to use the device to share some of the things that we've learned over the years from the people that I've had the opportunity to work with that have shared with me and helped me grow. And it's a blessing for me to have the opportunity to live long enough to share some of the things that have worked for me. But you know, the real interesting part, folks, is I am learning so much in this endeavor. I've retired, as most of you know, about 4 times, and I realized that that's not something that's good for me. So I'm back very active, and I've got 2 great associates that they're handling the technology side of it. Well, I work on the conversation side of it, and then, as all of you know, I'm pretty good at conversation. But thank you for being here. The subject of the webinar is accountability. And what I'm going to do is I'll give you the words that fill in the blanks. This is the way that I like to work in my workshops, so that you don't have to do a lot of writing, but when you get home, you've got something to help remind you of what you've gone through for the day. So we'll start right out. An attitude of continually asking. This is what accountability is all about. What is it that I am not doing? What is it that I am not doing that if I were doing it, it would help me achieve the results that I want and that I desire? It's about a process, if you will, of seeing the job to be done, doing the job to be done, and taking ownership of the job to be done. When we make ourselves accountable, we've identified something that we want to do. We're going to do the job, and we're taking responsibility. And by doing that, we're saying we will be accountable for what goes down here. So to the extent that whatever you do, whether you're in sales or any other kind of opportunity for work, accountability is critical. But the accountability is really ours. This is a personal kind of thing, I believe. And it's living a proactive, the next line is, it is living a proactive life, not a reactive life. Accountability is about accepting that I'm going to be proactive in what I do. I'm not going to be reactive. And how I can stay above the line of accountability and not drop below the line is what we're about today. And I'll also leave some thoughts for us on how you can drop below the line. And if you feel you're below the line, there may be, these 7 points may be the reason. Some of them may be the reason. So to stay above the line, you must, number 1, invite candid feedback. Invite candid feedback from others regarding your performance. You see, we need to be open to having people share with us the things that will make us better. To the extent we're willing to do that, we're more likely to more fully achieve our potential. All my life have been willing to accept constructive criticism. I don't want any negativity in my life if I can avoid it. And oftentimes it hurts a little bit. But if people are candid with you, and I don't say honest, I don't say to people, be honest with me. I say, be candid with me, because I think the people that I ask are always going to be honest, but sometimes they might not be as candid as I'd like them to be. So invite them to be candid. Number 2, I wrote, acknowledge reality. Acknowledge reality. Do not hide from the truth. I mean, it is what it is. And to the extent that you're willing to accept it is the extent to which you'll be able to make changes and improve it. Number 3, I wrote down, release immediately those things that take your time, your energy, and you cannot control. The other day I talked about the 3 things that are involved in negotiation, in handling objections. Minor objections, major objections, and circumstance objections. And as I was reminded by David Blasquez, who was on that call, that it's really what we have to recognize is that circumstances are things that we do not control. And so it's important that you acknowledge the reality of what's going on out there. And it's important that you realize that if you can't control it, then you have to let it go. There's nothing you can do about it. Number 4, I wrote down, commit yourself without reservation. Commit yourself without reservation to the goals you've set for yourself. Now, we've talked about what the definition of a goal is. It's aim at which effort is directed. So the question is, if you're not getting there, if you're not being as accountable as you should be, is the effort there? So you have to look at it. The people that are moving and making things happen in our world are people that accept accountability, and they recognize that it's needed. Their total commitment is important if they want to get where they want to go. Now, you've all heard this, but I repeat it anyway because I like it. You've had breakfast at Ham and Eggs, okay? With Ham and Eggs, the chicken's involved, but the pig is committed. Okay, so the reality is when we say commit and we say we're committed, you want to ask yourself, am I really committed? Am I really willing to make myself accountable to the things that I've set out as goals in my life? Number 5, I wrote down, remember, you control how you react to your circumstances, and you alone are responsible for the results. So you have to recognize that the responsibility is yours. We don't always create the circumstances. Sometimes I've created some circumstances for myself that weren't great, but I made the choice and I had to take the responsibility for it. And when we're not accountable, when we don't do what we say we're going to do, we have to recognize that we're not doing what we need to do, and that we have to be responsible for those reactions to the circumstances that come our way. Number 6, I wrote down, accept the fact that you and only you are making the choices. Okay? Choices are key. Recognizing that choices are key is the biggest part of accountability. I always tell my friends who say, I'm going to lose weight. I always say, how much? How fast? Tell 5 people. You see, when we share what it is we want to do, that makes us somewhat accountable. I've been around people that told me they're on a diet, they're going to lose weight, and I see them pick up a candy bar, and I just say to them, when did you get off your diet? I don't say anything else. But the reality is, the more people you tell what you want to do, the more likely you're to hold yourself accountable based on what you say. Number 7, I wrote down 4 or 5 things about learning that if you learn them, they'll be helpful. A, inquire and then listen. This is extremely important. We're in a different environment and a lot of different ethnicities. And if you want to really understand what somebody's saying, you need to inquire, but more importantly, you need to listen. And the best way to practice that, the best way to understand how to do that is ask yourself, when someone gives you their name very quickly at a cocktail party or an event, do you remember it? And if not, start practicing that. Start practicing the fact that you're going to ask questions, but then you need to listen. And remember that you listen with your ears. I'm sorry. You listen with your ears. See, I've got it all messed up. I got it right. It's you hear with your ears and you listen with your eyes. And I've said this many times to many people. You hear with your ears and you listen with your eyes. And understand this. It's important to recognize that eye contact is key to communication, period. Then I wrote down, first be understood, first understand and then be understood. First understand and then be understood. What am I saying here? Again, I go back to the ethnicities and the difference of people in the community and how they react. And their warehouse of knowledge was formed at different times in different places, perhaps in yours. And if you want to be understood yourself, you need to first understand what they're talking about. And communication is even more difficult. I'm often reminded when at my workshops, I ask people, describe a stagecoach for me. I give them time to get an image in their mind, and they tell me that's a thing that's got wheels and a box on it, and Wells Fargo uses it to advertise their bank. Well, I say, no. I'm talking about a drama teacher in New York. You see, if they had asked a couple of questions, they might have realized. And if they had been a drama coach in New York, they probably would have said, Bill, what kind of coach are you looking for? But we make assumptions, generalizations, and this is difficult in terms of communicating with a variety of different ethnic groups. So we need to really understand what people are saying if we want to be understood ourselves when we get back to them. And the best way to be understood is to ask questions, okay? The number C, this is a good one. Do not expect what you do not inspect. Well, about 2 o'clock this afternoon, I said to the team, let's go in and let's do a dry run. So we said, okay, fine. Well, wouldn't you know, there was a hitch. And about 4:30 tonight, they got it worked out. And guess what? Then we got on and we didn't have sound. Well, I guess that's why you have an inaugural run, to try and work out some of the bugs. And I appreciate the patience that all of you showed. And if you have questions and you write them down, as soon as I go through these points, we'll come back and we'll answer those questions. And those of you that have a time commitment will understand, but those that have questions, we'll be glad to answer for a bit. Excuse me. D, I wrote, focus daily with enthusiasm and belief in the potential results. You see, I'm big on the word belief. If you don't believe in yourself, I'm not going to believe in you. If you don't believe in yourself, other people aren't going to believe in you. First, you've got to believe in you and your potential and your possibilities. And you need to focus on the fact that you are capable. You can do things. I was having lunch with someone today, and we were talking about the employment situation and the difficulty for young people to get jobs. And I kept saying to them, there are jobs out there. Well, there are 300 people in line. Well, if you walk into that job with the assumption that you're the best person in that line for the job, you will, and you have that belief about you, that belief will come through to who you're talking to. Today, we need to really understand that our self-image, our self-esteem, our self-confidence all starts with believing who we are at the core. And I said to him, tell your friend, don't give up. Don't start questioning his capability. You've got to believe. You've got to do the things that need to be done and focus on your ability and your potential, and you will get the results that you want. Number E, look for opportunities for growth. You know, when you're talking about accountability, you really want to talk about the opportunities to learn. The other day, we talked a bit about the 3 things that you need to move forward and more fully achieve your potential. And we talked about education, experience, and execution. And not necessarily in that order, because again, prompted by a question that David had, it was my feeling, I expressed my feeling that if you're going to put them in order of importance, I would have education first, execution second, and experience third. And my rationale for that is that when you get education and you execute and apply it, if you will, you gain experience. And as you gain experience, you'll get more education. And as you get more education, you will reach out and experience more and execute more. So it's important in terms of looking for opportunities for growth. Number E. Number 1 under E, I put listen to those doing more than you. This is really important. And as some of you have heard me say from time to time, when I decided to get into the home building business, I went to a mentor of mine and I asked him for advice. And he said, the best advice I've got for you and the thing I want you to focus on is the fact that if you don't know, but you know you don't know, you can hire people that do know. And if you don't know though, you'll go broke. So the important thing is listen to people that are doing more than you. Number 2, observe those doing more than you. It doesn't hurt if somebody's better than you at something. Learn from them. All your obligation is to yourself is to be accountable for being the best person you can be. When you can go to bed at night and lay your head on that pillow and say, I did the very best I could do today, folks, believe me, that's all you need. I get so sick of hearing people say, I want to be like A or I want to be like B. And they're really good at C. And I'm saying everybody isn't good at everything. One of the things when I look at people, I talk about square pegs, square holes, round holes. You know, sometimes round pegs try to get into square holes and square pegs try to get into round holes. It doesn't mean either one of them are wrong. They just haven't found the right place. And we're like that as people. I've had people throughout my business life that could not make it in one position. And we take and move them to another position and they excel at what they're doing. So the important thing is to observe people that are doing more than you that will help you, but don't ever envy the fact that they're better at it than you are and you want to be better than them. Just be the best you can be. And if that's better than them, that's great too. Number 3, I wrote down, be accountable to those doing more than you. You see, when you tell people that are doing more than you, that you have goals also, and you're reaching for those goals, you'll find many of them will be supportive of you and respect the fact that you want to be better and work with you. So never be afraid to be accountable to people that are better than you. Number 4, I wrote down, accept, again, constructive criticism. And I emphasize the word constructive because there's no room for negativity in our lives. And unfortunately, we suffered a great deal. We suffer the fools of negativity. They come through the door breathing negativity. It's like bad breath. And it's a condition that is not conducive for you to achieve the things you want to achieve. But look to these people that you're listening to and you're observing and you're accountable to that are doing more than you and ask them for their help, their constructive criticism, because that's where you'll get it. You'll get it from people that are doing more. And there's something that I've learned throughout my business career and because it was good for me, I try to do it myself. I always found that when I went to somebody that was doing more than me, that knew more than me, whether they were mentors or friends, they were more than willing to help me. If you legitimately go to the busiest person you think in your community and you say to them, I am trying to figure out what to do in this arena, could I spend a half hour with you? If they accept you, they will probably spend more than a half hour, sometimes an hour and a half, 2 hours. So that's and it's constructive when they give it to you. Number 5, have realistic goals. Reality, not fantasy. And I say that because it's important that we can achieve some of our goals. We don't want to always reach our goals. We want to set them high enough so that we're reaching for them. But it's important that they're not fantasy. I tell the story of taking my granddaughter out when she was 6, 7 years old to the golf course, and we'd take a putter and go out on the putting green. And I'd lay the ball 6 inches from the cup, and she'd knock it in, and she'd clap her hands, and she was so happy. The guy across the green was with his 9-year-old son, and he's having him hit 9-foot putts. And the kid got frustrated and left because he couldn't make any of them. You have to have small victories. Start small and then build, and then enlarge and make changes. but don't deal in fantasy. You know what fantasy is? It's a dream without a goal. That's fantasy as far as I'm concerned. Number 6, be positive. Be productively positive. We always talk about having a positive opinion, having a positive feeling, a positive mind. I believe in that. Those of you that know me know that I believe in that. But it must be productive. It's got to be productive. One that other people can enjoy with you and see you enjoying it, and maybe they'll grow also from it. But be productively positive. Number 7, I wrote, concentrate on the process, not the outcome. Here's another conversation. It sounds like, Dave, you and I have been talking for hours, but you're very perceptive and do a great job of providing me input, which I greatly appreciate. But the process is really the key. The process is the key. The outcome is going to be the outcome. And the problem is when you start thinking about the outcome, let's say you're in sales, and you're about to close a real estate deal with a $20,000 commission, okay? And all of a sudden, you're now thinking about that $20,000. You're not thinking about all the things that this person needs. You're starting to think about your needs and not your client's needs. So remember, it's the process you focus on. And if you do your job the very best you can without thinking about money, trust me on this, folks, the money will come. The money will come. People recognize when you're sincerely having their interest at heart in what you do. Number 8, I wrote, if you're going to doubt something, doubt your limits. Why not doubt your limits? Why not have goals that are reachable, but maybe just a little out of reach? But don't doubt that you can't do it. Believe in yourself. Doubt the limits that are around you. I decided I wanted to go in the home building business. We looked at buying a piece of dirt that we needed a great deal of money for. I had $5,000, my partner had $5,000, we formed a company, and I went and borrowed $1.8 million from a client of mine, and we took down a $60 million project that turned out to be very profitable for us. You see, there's no limit except the limits that you set on yourself. And you say, well, Bill, now that's fantasy. Well, you have to start someplace. And I'm just saying to you that what you think is out of your reach is not necessarily out of your reach. Because you don't have the knowledge or the ability today to do something you want to do is not evidence that you can't gain the knowledge and the ability to do something you want to do. And today, with our technology, my goodness, the amount of research, the amount of information, the education you can get, if you can find your way around, it's a little harder for me because I haven't been with it since I was a little boy. I was jotting down the other day the dates of when the fax machine came out and when the iPhone came out. You know, the iPhone was introduced in 2007, and it seems like we've had it all our life. My first telephone was in a briefcase. My second one was a brick that you ran around with that made your ear burn because if you held it up there too long. So things change, and you can be part of that change. You can be part of that growth. Number 9, do what you have to do when it has to be done, whether you want to or not. That's being accountable. Doing what you have to do when it has to be done, whether you want to or not. You see, that makes you accountable. Number 10, I wrote down, do the hardest task first when you have the greatest energy. If you do the hard task first, you're going to do a better job. But by starting out and putting priorities on your jobs and putting the easy ones first when you have your greatest energy, when you get to the hard tasks, they become harder. And throughout my career, I've watched people, and the ones that seem to get the best job done are the ones that understand, do what they have to do when it has to be done, whether they want to or not, and do it when they have their greatest energy. Now, the other side of the coin is you will fail below the line when you, number 1, wait for people to do the right thing. Wait for people to do the right thing. Now, waiting for people to do the right thing is a recipe for disaster because people aren't always going to do the right thing. What you want to do is you want to do the right thing, and if somebody's in your way, go around them. Find a way to get the job done. But don't use it as an excuse for not progressing because you're waiting for somebody else to do the right thing. You need to do the right thing. Number two, avoid the unpleasant task for fear of offending somebody. You know, that's a quick way to fall below the line. And I've seen this happen in business in so many different ways. I've seen people who didn't want to tell the boss that they were buried. And that boss, they get the job done. And look at it this way. I give you a task, you get it done. Oh, okay, I'll give you another one, you get it done. Okay, I'll give you another one, you get it done. It's not the boss's fault that you burn out. It's your fault because you had this desire to approve the boss and get the boss's approval. I've seen people lose jobs, executives lose jobs over the desire for the approval of others by not laying people off or not critiquing somebody enough or not firing somebody. You see, the reality is you've got to accept the fact that if you avoid the unpleasant task, you are a victim of wanting the approval of other people, and I call that the third addiction. And it is painful, folks, trust me. Number three, settle for excuses instead of results. You know, excuses are useless. It's only results that count. And as you fall below the line, you look and you'll find it's because you're giving out excuses. You're not giving out results. Excuses don't get it done. You say to me, I can't get to the office on time. Well, why? I got to the office on time. Well, the traffic is bad. Well, wait, I went through the same traffic. I just left earlier. This is what happens to us. We make excuses when there's no reason for them. And I can tell you for a fact, bosses, and I know a lot of them, don't like excuses. They like results. 4, fail to stay focused on a schedule or a plan. The word focus comes up a lot, but what you have to have something to be focused on. Do you have a plan? If you don't have a plan, you'll fall below the line. You won't be accountable because you won't have anything to follow. Accountability is about having a plan, having a direction, having aim and a goal at which you're going to put effort in. And when you don't have a schedule, and a schedule does a lot of things for you. You've heard me talk about it reduces stress. There's so many things that you can get from it helps you put down the choices you want. It helps you organize your life. And if you don't have a schedule, and I don't mean it has to be a 5-year plan. My goodness, I'm 80 years old, as I've said, and I don't know what I'm going to do next year or 10 years from now. But I'm just going to get up like I have the rest of my whole life, all of my life, and put one step in front of the other one and do what I say I'm going to do. Be accountable for what I say I'm going to do. Number 5, and this is probably my favorite when I see people fall below the line. They lack integrity. They lack integrity. That's when they say one thing and they do another. They act one way and they do something else. You know, there's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for this lack of integrity except a weakness. And that lack of integrity will take you so far below the line, sometimes you can't get up. Wrap your mind around this. There are only 2 things that we all get equally. Only 2 things we all get equally. One is we get integrity at birth. Everybody believes that we're honest. Everybody trusts us. And until we do something that tears that away, we have integrity. And you know, here's the sad part. When you lose your integrity, it's very difficult to get it back. Very difficult to get it back. And the other thing is we have a 24-hour period that we all share. And how we use those 24 hours makes the difference in so many careers. But if you are somebody that says, you know, I got to watch so much TV and I got to have so much time for watching sports or playing sports, and you don't apply those the same way someone else does that's working and reading and growing, doing the things they need to grow, you're going to lack accountability and you're probably going to lack a job after a period of time. So think about integrity. It is the key thing we have. And think about your time, because you only get 24 hours in a day. And 2 hours that you spend watching television is 2 hours you can't do something to increase the value of your stock. You're a corporation. You're a company. You are paid based on what you can contribute. And if you can't contribute much, you're going to fall below the line. And how you use your time is an indicator of how much you place value on your stock, on who you are. And the last thing that I wrote down is a lack of standards. You know, I like people, and I call standards, think of it like a brand or a promise. I think a brand is nothing more than a promise. I know if I go to Europe, or I go to China, or I go to New York, and I go to McDonald's, I'm going to get the same kind of French fry pack. I'm going to get the same hot dog wrapped in the same kind of wrapper. And they're going to, if it's a takeout, I'm going to get in the same kind of sack. That's a promise. Automobile dealers, Mercedes-Benz, Cadillac, Volkswagen, doesn't matter. Each one of them have a standard. And you expect that standard, that promise to be there. And you as an individual, you have a standard. Sometimes we call it a reputation. I prefer to call it a standard. But you have a reputation whether you know it or not, whether it's good or not. And it's important for you to understand that if you want to have people believe that they can count on you, that you will be accountable for the things that they need to have done, you need to think about, what is your reputation? What is your standard? What is your promise that you're going to do? I do believe this to be true because people tell this to me. They know that I will be on time. They know that my watch is 5 minutes ahead. So that gives me a little advantage. But they understand, and that's part of my standard and part of my reputation. I know somebody else, but she'll remain nameless, that can't get any place on time. So sometimes we have to play games, and we set the time to be there a half hour earlier than it is so that we get there on time. But the reality is, it's better to have a standard that people can count on. And now, those are kind of my general thoughts about accountability. I don't know if we've raised some questions or not. I do want to tell you that no matter what, I'm very, very appreciative and indebted to all of you for giving us the opportunity to work on our skills of working with the webinar system. And for me, this is the first one that I've ever done. And I've really enjoyed preparing for it. And I've enjoyed the opportunity to be here and working with my two associates in putting this together. And so with that, I will open it up to questions. Do you have some questions, girls? Hmm? And while they're looking for the questions, I will say to you that I would welcome with open arms any constructive comments you have, other than make sure this sound's working, because we got that message loud and clear.
Okay, we have one question.
Okay.
Has belief in self really changed that much over the years, or is this more of a staple of success?
Has belief, as it's been understood over the years, changed much, or has it become a staple in success?
Or is it more of a staple?
Is it more of a staple in success? Well, my take on that would be that belief is something that's always been important. Belief in yourself, and having others have belief in you. I think that it's, I would say that it's a staple, that it's something that if you want to be taken seriously, I don't want to be around somebody that's always in doubt, that doesn't know if, well, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that. I know that when I said to a client, you need to charge X for those houses, and we need a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, we need a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and we need a 5-bedroom with a bonus room, and these are the prices. And I said, I've done my research, and that's what you need. They had belief in me. I had belief in my research, and fortunately for me, I had a great career in that, because I did do the work that was required to have the confidence that I needed to get them to believe in me. But I've also had clients say, you know what? If you don't believe it, I'm not going to believe it. I'm not going to go invest a lot of money because you think this is what we ought to do. So sometimes this belief requires you getting out over the tips of your skis, and you believe it, but you may not be able to document every piece of it, but you need to express belief that you are the person that can bring the information. You are the person that they can trust to do what needs to be done to get the answers that they're looking for. So I would say I'd say it's a staple. I think it's very hard to be successful in life when you don't believe in yourself and no one else believes in you either. So again, any more come up?
Yeah.
I thank you very much. I would enjoy hearing from you with all your constructive comments. And we'll talk to you soon. Again, our appreciation. Have a great evening and have a great 4th of July. Take care.
Yeah.
How long was that? It says stop, but it won't stop.
So it sounds like belief in oneself is a part of the process. Accountability. So it sounds like belief in oneself is all part of the process. Accountability is part of the process. I don't know how to use it.
Yeah, accountability is part of the process of demonstrating that you have ability and you're willing to be accountable. In my case, I was willing to be accountable for my research. Pardon?
Okay.
I was willing to be accountable for my research.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all part of the process of believing in somebody, without question. And that's my, yeah, it's still, I can't, it doesn't say off. Oh, maybe I need to get my cursor over here.
Yes.